Hey, good afternoon, everybody. I am going to break in here on an emergency broadcast because we have some great Americans that are down in Venezuela right now. If you all remember, on June 24th, two massive earthquakes measuring 7.2 and 7.5 struck northern Venezuela just about 39 seconds apart. Those are massive, by the way. I think California's overdue for something like that, so I keep hearing. But about a month later, that scale of that massive disaster, series of earthquakes, it's still unfolding. There's more than 5,300 people reported dead. Nearly 20,000 have been injured, and hundreds are still believed to be buried beneath rubble or remain unaccounted for. Thousands have been displaced, while homes, hospitals, schools, roads, bridges, and hundreds of buildings have been damaged or destroyed. And La Guaira and the Caracas metropolitan area are among the hardest hit regions. I've been to that part of the world several times. It is absolutely gorgeous. And the video images that are coming in are just devastating. So joining us now from the disaster zone is Steve SLEPCEVIC of Strategic Response Partners. Steve is leading a team of Americans who have traveled into Venezuela to assist with search and rescue operations. Their mission has now entered the heartbreaking phase of search and recovery, helping families find their missing loved ones and bring them home. Steve, thanks so much for being here today. It is great to have you. I know you guys have been down there. You must be exhausted. So give us your update, and thank you for the work you're doing. It's truly a love of humanity and a love of God.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it's not something you normally get up to when you get a 7.2 and a 7.5 earthquake that's back to back. Yeah, so the search and rescue side of it has ended. The government has turned it into a recovery and deconstruction, and so it's been very heartbreaking for a lot of the people down here. The challenging thing about it is these people have been on these piles working with spoons, their bare hands, with shovels, picks, lacking heavy equipment, which was one of the biggest things that was so instrumental in us getting on the ground right when we landed was
Mhm.
securing of heavy lift hoist. But it was because of being there 3 months before the earthquake when Maduro was taken out, and one of the reverends needed a security detail. So we handled the security right in LaGuardia with the mayor, got to know him. So we made those calls right away to secure whatever assets they had because it's extremely limited on some of the most critical buildings we felt was going to be the greatest potential for saving lives. And that should prove to be a very successful mission. Like in every mission, there's what is the biggest need? What is going to be the crucial part of the life-saving rescue mission that's going to improve our response time and improve the likelihood of saving lives? In Hurricane Helene, it was our pilot network that made us extremely
Mhm.
powerful. Was the fact that we had an incredible network of independent helicopter pilots that lifted up on a dime, showed up exactly where we gave them the coordinates for the LZ, and then packed that with our paramedics and the Starlinks, and that was what made it extremely effective in 500 medical responses and over 1,000 Starlinks delivered. That
Wow.
was what was accomplished with setting up 3 airports. That was Hickory, Foothill, and Samaritan's Purse, which we ran the air ops with our rotors, with their 3-star General Jim there and their whole team. That was what was critical in, and then of course the help that we got from everybody else. This is all heavy, heavy, heavy equipment and specialized task force guys, which we brought in immediately when it happened.
So this takes a level of expertise in terms of command and control, right? And this is where strategic response partners and your expertise, your corporation, and the team of volunteers, essentially, and volunteers, I say loosely, because these are people that are leaving their paying jobs if they're not working for you directly nonstop, to come down and assist. And so, they can't do this all for free. They're not asking to try and get rich, but this is an operation that not many people sign up to do because it is A, it's Venezuela, it's out of the country, and B, they don't have the expertise that your team does. So on the ground, what are you dealing with in terms of trying to accomplish a lot with very little? Or are you able to build, educate, train, and sort of scale your operation with just resources on the ground?
Yeah, there was a team of 27 of us, right? And the main guys are task force instructors, paramedics, right? These are
Right.
technical rescue experts, right? So bringing in the jackhammers, the rope rescues, the cribbing equipment, the saws, the generators, those type of things that they don't have access to. And then because it was such a wide scale, over 1,500 buildings that had collapsed. It was such a massive that if you threw every search and rescue team from around the country, you couldn't get to all the buildings and to all the people in that amount of time. So what we did is we just started training people that we saw were leads at these different buildings. And there's many videos circulating all over the internet on a bunch of the news stations, the Venezuelan news, the international news, Reuters. There was a write-up also in the Wall Street Journal, America's Real Voice. We ran into them. They happened to be there on the ground when we're doing a survey for a rescue on one of the buildings that they happened to show up at. But training each of these key individuals how to crib, how to shore it properly, how to go into the tunnel, how to use your rope, how to slide in, how to drag people out, how to work around the deceased, even how to silence the mound, how to pray, we were doing everything, but we were doing it by example. It wasn't us saying, hey, let me teach you. No, it was like, just watch me, stand alongside me, do this, grab that, set up a bucket brigade. We need buckets. And then it was the whole community was working right alongside us, which was really a beautiful thing of how these people just showed up and they're all working together, and they're digging their loved ones, right? They're trying to create that closure, whether you find them alive. And with every slab that we're pulling off with these heavy cranes, there's family members all on the street watching, and they're sleeping on the streets on these mats, right? There's no sanitation, there's no clean water, there's no running water, right? And every time it rained, it'd be running through their mats. It's
Oh
a
my
muddy
God.
mess. A lot of health issues that are happening there. A lot of respiratory issues that are coming from breathing all this debris in.
So I mean, I've been somebody who's been very critical of this administration in terms of the money that's being sent over to Ukraine and Israel and all around the world. We just did an operation, military operation. It was very successful. They went in, grabbed Maduro, and left, and nobody died. None of our guys died. Some of their guys did, trying to, stop what we were doing. But we were obviously very dominant in that military operation. Has the United States, have you seen a lot of effort from the United States government or our military, or what are you seeing on the ground in terms of support? You guys are private citizens, and this is your area of expertise, but what are you seeing from the United States government facilitating any sort of aid and support?
Well, half the country likes us, right? Because we took
Yeah,
Maduro out, and
right.
half the country still doesn't like us. They're stuck into the communist stuff that's been there for 40 years.
Sure.
They've never seen so many military aircraft flying over their heads, or even seen them in their entire lives, many of them, right?
And these are our military aircraft?
Our military aircraft,
Okay.
yeah, just unabated Ospreys, Black Hawks,
What are
just
they doing? What are they?
they're moving aid, but this heavy lift, which is really not making the news, there's 20 billion in losses. 50% of what collapsed was residential buildings. These
Wow.
buildings were built by the Chinese with styrofoam inserts. I'm going to text you one of the videos just to show you what we're dealing with. The Chinese built these buildings that are beyond substandard,
Right.
right? They collapsed like crackers in exchange for oil and gas from the Maduro regime. So it's moving extremely slow. There's a lot of health issues that are springing up right now, and it's going to get a lot worse. It's going to get a lot worse because these people are moving around decayed bodies. They've gone into an entire demo phase of taking building by building, and there's no care or respect around that part of it. We don't do that in the United States. So people's bodies, limbs are getting torn apart. They stop when they can, that type of thing. But a lot of these bodies are unidentified. They're mass graves. People are taking pictures and posting out at different centers where they're processing, the bodies that they're recovering, but they're not being identified properly. They don't have like a DNA sequencing type database like we do in the United States.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's just really difficult. I mean, right now we have a huge shipment of medical supplies going in, and thanks to medical shipments, they're one of our partners out of Chicago.
Mhm.
They've done an incredible job stepping up to this heavy lift. Samaritan's Purse is just getting hammered because of the amount of people that they have coming into their medical field office. They're the closest ones there to the ground, and then the next one is Caracas, which is a
Mm.
good hour and a half out of that zone. You know,
So I
um,
want to just get over here to your Give, Send, Go here. It's actually for Venezuela. I want to put this up on the screen because I think people need to take a look at this quick video. If you don't mind, I'm just going to cut to
I
it.
don't mind.
It's, I mean, you've been on the ground. I've interviewed you now a couple times. I've talked to you on the phone a few times. I check in and check. You've been down there since when? Today is July 24th. We're talking a month now since the devastating earthquake, June 24th. When did you arrive?
We arrived 3 days after
Yeah.
the earthquake, and that was we applied on the first day. I remember telling you that we applied on the first day for our visas and permits, and then we sat on the tarmac, couldn't get permission. So I called General Flynn, and General Flynn pushed the message up to Marco Rubio because there was things that were being played by the government, and it wasn't just our team.
Right.
Ecuador was being held back, Spain was being held back,
Yeah.
and they just weren't letting people into the country. I think part of it was they didn't have an infrastructure even to how to receive and how to process. And
Yeah.
they should have just let people go in instead of getting caught up on those mechanics, because those 3 critical days, of which is where you're going to save the most amount of lives, was where the issue was. And it wasn't just us. Florida task force got held up for 3 days as well, almost
You
4
know,
days.
it just seems like every time you turn around, there's something that's just not helping save lives. It seems like everything is designed in a depopulation agenda. And I say this because I'm coming off the heels of COVID, like we all are. And that clearly had a depopulation agenda. All of these wars that we've been involved in, I mean, didn't even have to happen. It's a continual attack on humanity. Not to say that this Venezuelan earthquake was man-made. Maybe it was, I don't know, but it happened. And we have a lot of missing people still. Let me just get on over here to the Give, Send, Go that your company set up. Because I spoke to your wife a few weeks ago, and she told me, she said, "Ann, we're maxing out our credit cards here to make sure we can pay the guys. Your personal credit cards. This isn't like, drama here. You're maxing out
No,
your money to pay the
yeah, they're
guys that are down there risking their lives to help fellow humanity. It's amazing. Let me just cut this clip real quick and see if I can.
So while we were fighting freedom for freedom at Freedom Fest and talking about what the power of America is in the world, we also got to see over this last week what it's like to have a tragedy met with a socialist country. How well does it handle it? Well, I'm talking about the devastating earthquakes in Venezuela. If you were watching the news, then this is what you saw.
Heartbreak and devastation in Venezuela. 2 major earthquakes rocked the capital city of Caracas.
The first quake hit with a magnitude of 7.2. A second quake struck just 40 seconds later, registering 7.5.
The twin quakes were the strongest the country has experienced in more than a century.
Nearly 60,000 buildings were damaged or destroyed.
Rescue operations are continuing in Venezuela with tens of thousands of people still missing.
The police and government didn't help us. We pulled the bodies and survivors out ourselves, along with neighbors and volunteers. We dug through the rubble with our bare hands.
There are hardly any survivors now being found from under the rubble.
The USGS is predicting a staggering death toll.
Over 4,300 people.
The stench here is still overwhelming. It is a combination of smoke, debris, and death.
Search and rescue teams, including one from LA, are now on the ground helping to find the more than 70,000 people reported missing.
I mean, that to me is devastating. And that's, several weeks ago, Steve, that was shot. And yet here we are, and you're still there. You're still there, still digging people out. And if we were going to measure the completion of your work and on a percentage, how far along is the search and rescue recovery in terms of 0 to 100%?
They're not. You're not gonna. I mean, these bodies are buried deep into this building, right? They're in the thousands of people still missing.
Mm-hmm.
So at one point it was 60,000. Numbers, right? So the numbers have fluctuated. But just looking at these buildings, the amount of lives that were lost in it, that people weren't able to even access it with no equipment. There's a building that the entire building. There was because it was a holiday, there was like 15 or 16 kids, teenagers, that were in a pool party, and the entire building came down and literally buried them in that pool. You know, if you watch the rest of that video, or if your viewers watch the rest of the video, they'll see a lot of just us working on these different piles, doing the rescues, working with the different people there. The tough thing, like one of the most toughest things, was a mom that we had got out early, and then several days we were able to get to her baby, and her baby had passed, a 6-month-old baby. And you know,
the images are astounding, and the stories coming out of there. Some people saying the government was just trying
to play it without
bulldoze the sites again.
Without the sound, but it won't let me mute it on this. It won't let me mute it. So continue on. Sorry about that.
Yeah. So just it was just a lot of heart, really difficult experience, but seeing the prayer circles that, you know, people were holding, and then every night we, as our own, to witness to the people, when we would debrief, we would pray, we'd get the whole group together and we would all pray together. And it was amazing because the community would gravitate towards it, right? You know, and we're called to be that light in those dark places, right? But hearing the youth and the choirs like singing in the center of like this little courtyard of this community school area, so that people in the buildings can hear the sound of music, the prayers, to give them hope. That was just so moving, right? In such a dark place. But the thing is, yeah, I mean, listen, the credit cards are maxed out. It's not the first time we've done it. I always tell her, just trust God, right? Because
that's what she said.
It's just what I do, right? She goes, I've learned this thing after 20 years of being married to you. I said, honey, if you haven't learned by now that God provides, I don't know what to tell you, because it's always that way. It always works out that way, right?
Sure.
We're just called to do the work. And the mom at home, the single mom, the mom raises a kid, the married mom, the truck driver out there that's working on the road, the guy that's the contractor worker, many of the first responders that want to be there, right? We all want to be there. We all want to be, you know, in service to those that are suffering. And we may not be able to, job, family obligations, other obligations. And so when they're able to contribute, right, whatever small amount they can contribute, the fact that they just get online and click the link and show up and even share a prayer, that just tells me everything. I love that. To me, that's gratitude. That's someone actually taking a moment and saying, you know what, I'm going to be my contribution at this moment. I'm going to be part of that solution in serving them. So a big part right now is we're pushing for the four-person tents, which we've secured quite a few of them. And we have a really good logistics channel going in from Opalaca right into Venezuela. And we have a team that's actually receiving it in there. That's our team, right? We have 12 people right there right now on that other side of it that are continuously working as they demo buildings. So we're ahead of those demos. Once the government steps in on that building, they throw everybody off. And then at that point, we move to another building, right? But the point now is to bring closure to those family members, that even when we come across a deceased person and you have a body recovery, they're able to create that closure in their mind that says, hey, that person has passed. I'm ready to move forward and do a proper burial and close that chapter in my life, right?
Yeah.
But honestly, and the best thing that ever happened for us was being able to respond. It's changed all of us forever. You know, there's so many miracles along this path that were so beautiful. And when I was talking to you on the ground, we were digging into that supermarket with 13 people there, using the heavy lift hoist, 2 cranes, 2 excavators, an entire team. I even had Task Force LA County and Fairfax come out. I had called in every possible favor. And it was very disheartening for us because we removed over 30 bodies. And, you know, the, those are the toughest, right? Because it's you've worked so hard, and you hope that you can actually put closure for a lot of these families, and it does. But it's a tough thing to deal with, and then to think there's part of me that wants to get angry, going, why'd you hold us back for 3 days? Because some of these that have passed had just recently passed, right?
Yeah,
Thinking if I had those 3 days,
you could have saved. Yeah, I know, Steve. And this is what I want people to comprehend about you. You're not down there turning a buck. You're down there, you're turning your work over to the Lord to help you save these people. And for whatever reason, evil steps in the way and tries to slow things down, but you don't let that get you down. You trust, you tell your wife who's at home, and your wife's a powerhouse. She's, managing an amazing program for autistic children. You both are very close with Robert Kennedy Jr., and you've done incredible work in the MAHA space. And I think people need to know that about you and your team. This is a calling. This isn't a job. This is a calling. And you've been out of your house now for almost a month. Your wife's holding the fort down, and you feel compassion for these people. And I guess the part that I'm grasping at straws is because there isn't enough of people like yourselves doing this work. And it's a massive undertaking. Caracas is a very, very dense city. How many people live in Caracas?
Man, it's very dense, and it's crazy because even though it's an hour and a half, there's all those buildings that are there.
Right.
And what we're saying, it's all cracked up. That whole place is cracked up. So, and
the styrofoam, there was cement structures with styrofoam for the walls. They just basically poured cement over styrofoam.
Yeah. So what they do is you look, there's like a 2-inch layer of concrete. Then in every one of the core is styrofoam. There's a ridge beam, like a rafter that comes down. There's one rebar in the center of that, and then there's 2 at the very bottom. And the ones at the bottom aren't even in the concrete.
Oh,
and this is across all these structures. So yes, we have a lot of problems in the United States, right?
Mm-hmm.
But it's critical when you look at how management, right? Emergency management, like even when you see how Florida, responds to hurricanes, they're rapid, they're on it, they get stuff done. When you look at that's run by DeSantis, a powerful leader that has experience in that space, and he just lets the team go.
Right.
Hurricane Helene, Democrat run, no one showed up. It required a heavy lift from us on the private side of it, right?
Yeah.
So do I want to be doing this? No. There should be paid things by government that are properly running these organizations.
Right.
And when you have poor management, like you did in LA with the LA fires, right, where we saved 23 structures with our private fire team, that right there shows you just what a shit show that was.
Yeah.
When you mismanage things, no water in the reservoir, the hydrants ran dry, fire departments slashed across all levels, miscommunication, and you're focused more on DEI than who are the real responders that actually have a track record and that actually show up for the people. Those are huge things.
Steve, you're absolutely right. And when you talks about leadership, your state is run by a complete, he's not a good person. Gavin Newsom is just really not a good person. We've been very blessed with DeSantis. We're right now in a dogfight down here. Talk about leadership. And the guy that, shows that has the experience is a guy named Paul Renner. I'm not sure if you followed him or not, but he has leadership. So for me, if we have a disaster, I know when you come to the state of Florida for hurricanes, right? You're here in advance before the storm hits. You couldn't possibly be in Venezuela in advance because it's an earthquake. We don't know when that's going to happen, but you're here, you're on the ground, and you're coordinating with people that are seasoned veterans of disaster recovery and just being on the ground and having weathered storms. It's so critical that the government there. And so Venezuela, are you getting the assistance that you need out of the Venezuelan government on this massive rescue mission that, the select few of yourselves that are dedicating your time down there and taking the risks? Are you getting what you need?
It's based on 40 years of Maduro, right? A communist regime, right? So you don't have all the resources that we do in the United States. That just shows you. People want to complain about where the United States is headed with the Democratic Socialist Communist Party. You know what? Go to Venezuela, spend some time there, and then tell me if you want those things, because that's exactly where we're headed if we don't actually change our course.
Right.
And the loss of lives and government corruption, that's on steroids. You can just go there and see yourself. If you find a little morsel of meat in a soup, you're excited, right?
Wow.
The average person makes about $215 a month, right? Their cost of living is like $600 a month. They're working 2-3 jobs. And on top of that, they're counting on diaspora and outside sources to fund it. This is your socialist, communist type movement. This is what's coming. So my parents come from Serbia. They know what it's like back in the days of what communism was. My mom has said to me many times, son, this is what it feels like when communists move in.
Yeah.
And that's what we're facing. And yes, you need an incredible leader. And like you had shared, you know, right now Florida's in a tough situation, and you have to choose your leader who knows what he's doing in this thing, because it saves lives, it runs better systems, it's more transparent, and it's what we need more of. You can't have Florida go this far along and then turn around and go in the opposite direction.
Right.
And dismantle all the good work that was done. You know, we're in a major fight for our country, and it starts with these individual states.
Yeah, it does. I keep saying the federal government's toast, the Venezuelan government's toast, and the only way that you're going to get yourself out of it is people. When a hurricane hits my house, and God forbid a tree lands on it, and that's happened before, previous homes, FEMA didn't show up first. It was my next door neighbor with a truck and a chain, and we pulled the tree off the house, and that's what you do. And they were there in 15 minutes. We're still out there in the storm trying to get the tree off the house. This is what you do. You can't wait for the government. And you know, Steve, I can't thank you enough. The work you're doing is so incredibly important. And I hope that the folks that are listening to this, I hope you guys can take heart that this is a man who is leaving his own family behind to go and help others, not because the United States government said so, because God called him, and this is what he's doing. He is, by the way, Sam Eaton. Now, hey, Sam Cam is making an appearance. He
put him on. What's up?
I don't know if Sam, you want to hop in here? I'll send you a link. I'll grab him a link real quick so you can say hi. But honestly, it's you guys that go down there because you volunteer to do this stuff. But just because you're volunteering doesn't mean it doesn't cost you anything. It costs you plane tickets, food, a place to stay. Tell me about the accommodations. I understand you have somebody that's helping with that right now.
Yeah, so our ICU nurse, who's actually from Venezuela, her mom's part of the doctors network there. And she lives in Caracas. But yeah, so we stayed at her place, and then we have one of the pastors that was connected to us opened up their church. So we've had the entire crew. You know, you have one shower, right?
Yeah. For
like 30 something people. But it's been a blessing, right? It's been an absolute blessing. It's hot, it's humid, but again, we're there outward focused to be in service to others. It's not about being comfortable.
Yeah.
You stay there, and you go to work from when your eyes open to when your eyes close, right?
So tell me, like,
go to like 4:30 in the morning,
What does the future look like for you and the team? How much longer are you guys going to be rotating people in and out of there? What does the next, 30, 60, 90 days look like? How long can you really justify being down there from a personal level?
Well, from a personal level, it'll be rotation, right? So right now we're committed to the next about 15, 16 more days, I believe it is, on the recovery side of it for the body recovery. And then after that, it's going to be more turned into a government, which becomes demo, clearing, building new sites, and, mass graves. And that's something we don't do. But for us, we're going to continue supplying, tents so people can get out of these rat infested areas, get their tents off the floor, stay out of the mosquitoes area, and then obviously giving them the respirators that they need, the PPEs that they need, because they're living in these zones,
Yeah.
And it's really a big sanitation issue there, and a lot of disease outbreak that's happening in the area. Tuberculosis they're having many cases of tuberculosis and other types of diseases that are coming out from these type of stuff. And in these areas, you're going to get typhoid, you're going to get legionnaires from the dirty water that's coming from buildings that people are staying in, that it's running brown water. In Caracas, it's all brown water. You can see it. It's just dirty.
Yeah. Pipes are broken too. I mean, this is what happens.
Yeah. And a lot of buildings should be red tagged, and people shouldn't be living in it. And they're still getting aftershocks and earthquakes there. So it's challenging. You're on a pile, it starts to shake, and then you have people in a tunnel. That could just literally collapse.
It's a lot. Steve, I want to encourage you to, just do what you always do. You keep the faith, you lean into God, and you just do the work because you're called. And I'm so grateful that I'm so grateful for the work you do, but please, we want you to come home safely too. So if you were hazarding a guess, how much longer you think you and the team will be down there? What are we looking at?
I think it'll be for us. It'll be, I think, about 90 more days. It'll be a lot of it's going to be humanitarian aid that's being pushed through. We have a huge medical shipment going through right now, thanks to medical shipments out of Chicago. That's run by an organization that's run by Dan Machich. And then we have a whole bunch of, like I said, PPEs, gloves, masks, boots. We left a lot of gear down there. There's jackhammers, saws, all that type of stuff, like just leaving that stuff because they don't have that stuff, and empowering them with the tools. I could go buy new gear when we get home, right? When that time comes. But in the meantime, just being able to serve those people has been the greatest thing. I mean, people ask me what I do. I just answer the phone, and I have an incredible group of men and women that are out for spirit-led. They're not caught up in the mechanics. They're not caught up in the egos. Just really out there ready to serve with their skill set, with their abilities. And I thank the wives that all around our team members and the family members that support them, that, the kids that go without their fathers, without their mothers in these times of crisis. They also are part of that contribution for us to be able to do what we do.
Listen, you're like the military. You go off to war, and this is basically a war. You're in sort of war zone conditions, but worse. And your families are left behind, and they're there to support you. But we also, I think, it's as a humanity, need to support people. These are victims. These are not, these aren't people that made a bad choice. This is just what happens. Nature is nature. And God has his own plan, but God wants to see his children help his children. And so I think what you're doing is very admirable. I want to remind everybody, you can go over to the Give Send Go, and you can support. Hang on one second. I want to get it up. What did I do with it? Here it is. You can support Steve. You can not Steve, but you can support the work that they're doing by heading on over to Give Send Go /Venezuela. Give Send Go. It's actually streaming on the bottom in the blue line going across your screen, givesendgo.com /Venezuela. And you can support. I highly recommend it. They've got a lot more needs for the people down there to, get with people that have been victims of this entire catastrophe, the supplies that they need. People have lost everything. And when Steve leaves, I'll play a little bit more of the video here so that folks can, stay up to speed on all of that. Steve, I am very appreciative of your time. Please stay safe. Thank you for everything.
Thank you, Anne, for sharing it with your audience.
Yeah.
And being just a true patriot, spouting the truth out there. It's always been a beautiful journey working alongside you.
Absolutely. Absolutely. You and Tracy are just incredible people. And Sam was boarding a flight. He's going to Buffalo Township for the second annual event commemorating the life of Corey Compatori, his loss of life. We all remember that day. And in Butler. And then he says, Steve, I prayed for you and Team Daily. So proud to call you boss and friend. And thank you for bringing attention to this continued humanitarian effort and strategic response partners.
Yeah, love really. Sam, 35 years, battalion chief down in Palm Beach, Florida.
Yeah.
Just an amazing patriot. Just one of the biggest hearts. The guy is community. He truly puts the brotherhood in firefighter,
He does. And he has his famous, pictures where he does the Sam cam. You think you're taking a selfie, and next thing you know, it's got video and nothing's happening. And then he does this little Sam cam thing. Sam, we know you and we love you. Safe travels up to see for that commemoration for Corey Compatori. That's just tremendous. Steve SLEPCEVIC, thank you so much. God be with you. And we look forward to hearing more from you. Keep us up to date, and we'll keep you in our prayers.
Thank you, Ann. God bless you and your audience.
Yes, thank you. Great, great man. I love that man. Love his wife. They're just incredible people. They're such kind souls. And what you see is what you get with the SLEPCEVICs. There is no, foo-fa dressing or made up foo. They're just real people. And, you know that when you see a grown man and he's very built, very fit, get choked up over the loss of life that he's encountering, and realizing had he just been able to get there 3 days earlier, he could have saved more lives. And that's somebody who cares. And this is at the end of the day, what it's all about. I mean, we're being told to hate everybody all over the world because we're at war with them or whatever. You know what? That's the government's issue. Those are governments fighting governments. It's really the elites fighting the elites. It's all BS. And I'm personally sick of it. We have people suffering here, but we have people suffering around the world that didn't do anything wrong. And these Venezuelans have been victims of a horrific regime for a long time. We did manage to get that regime removed. That is great. We did it with no loss of life to our team. That is fantastic. And, you know, when they get hit with an earthquake, it's just like, wow. And then you learn the Chinese are just disgusting people. I can tell you a personal story about property here in the States. Not far from where I lived, they built these townhomes, 3-story townhomes. And wouldn't you know, the buildings collapsed. And guess what? It was Chinese concrete. Yep. So what a story that was. That was years ago, probably 10 or so years ago here, just not too far from where I live. So we know about, you know, crap coming out of China. We know that. So, I mean, we all know that when you buy something on Amazon from China, it's broken in 2 days anyway. That's just the way it is. But Steve SLEPCEVIC, his team literally going down there for peanuts just to, you know, get by, but help people and give them the supplies they need. So this is what, when you hear of a disaster, we want to help our fellow man. I hope you guys go to givesendgo.com and donate to the / Venezuela. It's streaming on the bottom of my stream. I'm going to play out this video for you guys because I want to kind of watch. I want to watch it again. I think it's important that we see this stuff. And let's see if I can make it roll. Is it going to roll? Here we go.
People as humanly possible, but last small percentage. We're in severe, moderate to severe now. Okay? Right. So that's all we have. So that little window is closing very fast.
There's word that some family members or some folks might be still in this wreckage.
She's pregnant and she's hypertensive. She has all the symptoms for preeclampsia. There's nothing that we can do yet. She has to go to the hospital.
You guys in there? Yeah, we just left one site. There were several bodies that we recovered, no lifelines, and now we're off to the next building. Percentages are starting to drop hour by hour of the potential for finding life, but we're not quitting. We're working through the night. This is a nonstop effort.
Found 2 bodies. Yeah. So now we're gonna extract them. We're gonna set up like a roof system.
The husband has been working for 4 days to find them, and he finally found them.
This little girl's right inside that. People that
So we have a mom and 3 kids. You want to do very delicately how you do around the body. You don't want to dismember the body. I want us to be as a group. You look at it, and then we decide how we move it.
We're gonna.
Okay, I'm gonna show you over here.
Right now, he's confronting the placement of the child, and seeing if we can extricate her, which is a difficult task because you're looking at an unstable structure. And what does he need to free her from the building?
There's a process to respectfully handle the body, and it's the inevitable fact that happens in these situations. Okay, this is your window of opportunity. Just trust me. We went and looked at all the other buildings. This is the highest probability right now. Anywhere. Hey, Mike. Hey, Mike, you need to move this body.
But right now we're in a transition from rescue to recovery, so we can have 24-hour work on piles. But there's so many of them that it's overwhelming.
Sí, 2 personas en el sótano, okay? 2 people in the basement. Okay.
So let's go there. Let me explain something to you. This is how it works. There's no jurisdiction.
No, I don't know.
It's saving lives.
Let's go.
So let's just walk in there.
Can you turn on your radio?
It's in God's hands. Yeah. Thank you for showing up in a big way.
Everybody's tired. Everybody's aching. We've been here all day, all morning, all day, all night. This is where it counts. You're supposed to be a good player now. You're supposed to be a good person now.
Emotions are running high. Multiple days. People are seeing their family victims pulled out of the rubble. There was a massive fight breaking up between families and workers and all types of stuff here. You know how to hold the space. So if you see something that can jeopardize what we're doing, then, you know, just do what I do. Yeah, do what you do.
100%. To the little pockets that everyone's digging for right now to try to grab the last few people we can before they demo this whole thing. The whole entire city smells like a graveyard. They're asking for me. This may be the last survivor anytime if you listen.
Thank you very much, guys. You're the best guys ever. Thank you. You do what you say you're gonna do. You inspire us. We never forget all you did for us. So thank you very much.
Yeah.
Wow. Well,
yeah, wow. That's what you can say about that. Dell over at the High Wire is another friend of Steve's. Great guy. I got to tell you, folks, when I see those videos, it's hard to watch because I've been in massive hurricanes down here in Florida. I was very much in the mix in Hurricane Andrew. That was many years ago. I was working for Cellular One back then, and I was a sales rep delivering cell phones. And I lived in Palm Beach Gardens and had to drive to Miami in order to deliver phones. We had massive damage in Palm Beach Gardens, 80 miles from the eye of the hurricane. And going into Miami after Hurricane Andrew, you get off I-95 and there was no street signs. It was leveled. We had like 2,000 tornadoes that hit that area. And depending on where you were, there was nothing left. There was nothing left. And I'm trying to deliver cell phones to people that are doing search and rescue down there and contractors and everybody. I think I delivered 3,000 cell phones that month. That's how crazy it was. Everybody that came in to do the work. And it's amazing what humanity can do when there's a natural disaster. We come together like 9/11. We came together at 9/11. Anytime there's a natural disaster, Hurricane Helene, when I was up there, just witnessing people coming in from around the country to help. Yeah, there's some disaster tourism that goes on or whatever. But by and large, it was, these are people that want to help people. And Steve is one of those people. He was on the ground in Helene, saw him there. We have hurricanes. He's in Florida. I mean, those guys are incredible. So if you have it in your heart, please head over to givesandgo.com/Venezuela/Venezuela. $5, $10, whatever you can afford. If we had a lot of people that watch us all give $10, that'd be an easy, $4 or $5 grand just from this broadcast. That would be helpful to get these tents he's talking about so people actually have a place to sleep. These Chinese buildings collapsed, unfortunately. And when you have horrific socialist leaders like Maduro, there's a reason that Venezuela had the brain drain all those years ago, right here into Miami, into South Florida, because they didn't want to live under socialist conditions. They were smart than the rest of the people who unfortunately didn't have the means or were stuck down there. And then they were stuck with the shoddy construction. It's unbelievable. So thank you for letting me bust in. I've got to go. I've got another live hit on a different channel here shortly, but thanks for your attention. God bless you all. Have a great weekend, everybody. And before I forget, I know I say this all the time, Paul Renner is up for election. Polling is coming out today, and I've gotten a sneak preview at it. 50% are still undecided. Byron is in the high 20s. Paul is next in the double digits, ahead of Fishback. Collins and Bobby Williams are in the margin of error, about 3%. So Paul is pulling away, like the Golden Tempo. Everybody remember Golden Tempo, the horse that came from the back and ran forward? He's running forward. And as we start to learn more about Byron Donalds, the fact that he wants to have hyperscale data centers up and down our peninsula, the fact that he's definitely funded by all of these recreational marijuana companies. He wants to make it legal here in Florida and destroy us like Colorado. I know, because I went to school in Boulder. So did my kids. And the difference between the state from then to now, unbelievable. That state has been ruined by legalized marijuana, which is the gateway drug into a whole lot of other things. I know there's medicinal uses. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about recreational use only. And, I know that, Byron Donalds is not even talking about real affordability adjustments, elimination of property tax. Paul Renner has a plan listed on his website, voterenner.com. Go to voterenner.com and pull up the 100 days of Paul Renner's contract with Florida, first 100 days. First thing he's addressing is affordability and hyperscale data centers. Moratorium on those things and elimination of property tax. You guys have a blessed Friday. Thank you for your time, and we'll see you next week.